So this is the time for us to all stand up and stretch for a few minutes, have a cup of water, and drink a cup of water, and just for a few seconds, that will back. I'm doing that here. Jump up. Just make sure that your circulation is okay. You don't need to be for too long. Important. So you can stretch on your seat as well. You can stretch your legs under your table, and make sure that your circulation is everything intact. So thank you very much. As we have done that, we will now proceed to listen to a key consequence of the conversation today. Today's conversation, we're talking about development, we're talking about social media and new media platforms. We're talking about the key consequence, which is young persons who are going to drive a lot of development in society. We're talking about the demographic dividend. For instance, in Igbo land, we have a lot of young persons, energetic young persons, and many of them are on the social media platforms. So it's important to also hear the perspective. Prof having given us very deep insight. But are there other perspectives from the young persons or their representatives that may also enrich this conversation? To have to share with this insight of what Prof has already shown and share with us, we invite Ike Akwarandu, who is the senior special assistant to the governor emeritus of Imo State on news and social media. So he would, for the next few minutes, share with us, just like an intervention that I enjoyed that on what the youth expect, just on what Prof has made and what does he. So is Mr. Ike available? Okay. So oh great. So you're welcome, Ike. Okay, you can tell yourself. So Ike is also a policy analyst. He is the ED of Vocal Digital Media, and he consults for organizations and, of course, individuals as well on new media and other digital media related activities and projects. So you're welcome, Mr. Akwarandu. The lecture has been fantastic. Prof raised a number of issues around education of the population using these platforms, around mobilization, which is an area I'm sure you are also very in tune with, and also technology transfers. So I don't know, what do you think about, what's your perspective, and what would you say young persons have taken out of this lecture, and what can you share with us based on your own experience? You're welcome.
Thank you, the moderator. Thank you. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are joining us from. This, for us in Nigeria here, is evening, and I want to thank everyone for this very important program and section which we started some hours ago. It's been very fruitful, and I must say that Prof has given a very detailed analysis of why we are here today, and I will also go ahead to touch on certain areas, and at the end of the day, I believe we will have all it takes to, we will find all it takes for us to be here today. Professor Onwuliri was a great man who passed on some years ago, 8 years ago, in the service of this nation. Despite our time constraint, I won't continue this lecture without paying tribute to him. And I believe that he made outstanding impact in the development of this country, both in his immediate communities and the world at large. Because Onwuliri was a great man. He was confident. I can confidently say that in all his dealings, he was mindful to serve humanity to the end. I miss his brilliancy and modest way of life. And I know wherever he is, he will be rejoicing that we are gathered here today on his behalf. The social media, as we have come to, this lecture, I must say, has been a driving force for positive change in our society. I say a big thank you to the organizers for this honor. I pray that greater wisdom and insight will be upon them to continue this well in the future. Introduction of my presentation, which I titled, What Ndi Must Do with Social Media. The theme of this year's lecture, as we all know, is the role of social media in human capacity development and in the development of our place, the Igbo land, Alibu. I believe that this topic is very timely and it's important considering the time we are in, a time when digital technology has caused major disruption in every facet of life, a time when the big world has become very small, a time where the invisible internet connects the visible world, and all of us are here. Look at us today, connected on Zoom from the comfort of our rooms. I think we have to use ourselves as the first examples of what social media has done for us, the positive aspect of social media. Yesterday, I was on a conference call with a friend, and we had a WhatsApp video call with about 2 to 3 people, and we are seeing our environment. That is the benefit of social media and what it has done for us. Gone are the days when people must travel from here to other parts of the world for business transaction. In today's world, once you are certain that you are dealing with the right people, you can stay in the comfort of your room, your office, and do business transactions worth millions of naira. For us as a people, the Igbo community must not leave her development to chance. We need to take advantage of social media to build a stronger and more developed community. Let me begin with human capital development. Human capital development is a process where individuals, organizations, and societies build on existing skills and knowledge of its members to drive a dynamic and flexible process of change. To us, it is strengthening the skills and knowledge of the Igbo people and communities in order to achieve social and behavioral change, as well as infrastructural development, leading to a stronger and more progressive Igbo society. As Ndi Igbo, we are known for our industriousness, resilience, hard work, intellectual prowess, and rich cultural heritage. We are no doubt the commercial hub of Nigeria, the life of the nation, and despite the challenges we faced as a people from the Civil War till death, we have remained unbroken and very strong. According to Wikipedia, as a computer-based technology that facilitates sharing of ideas, just like we are sharing ideas today, thoughts and information through building virtual networks and communities. It can take many different forms, including social, internet forum, WhatsApp, etc. Let me say at this point that the historical background of social media, Nigeria as a whole was in 1996 unable to afford the internet. It was at close to the year 2000 that operations of the internet became more visible in Nigeria. However, the Southeast have constantly been categorized as a unified people that have used these two to benefit themselves. A study found out that a larger percentage of the people that are on Facebook in Nigeria are actually the young people from the southeastern region of Nigeria. Let us go to the role of social media in human capital development and in the development development of our living. Social media has become vital for social development in the world. And even social media has become, in Nigeria, social media of informing, and entertaining. Social media has the capacity to engineer social change and reform. The immense power of social media was visible just recently, and their voices to the End SARS and police brutality campaign that happened in Nigeria. We also saw, we also witnessed
yeah, thank you very much. I think the network challenges are also some of the areas that will still have to be smoothed out with regards some of the advances we're seeing with social media. So I'm sure the speaker is not very clear.
Can you hear me?
So yes, you're back on, Ike. Ike, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. So you weren't very clear, and you know, we are really interested in all that you are sharing, the perspective you're sharing. So you can go ahead.
I would have to begin from the role of social media in human capital development and in the development.
So just continue. Yeah, so you can continue from where you were. You were talking about the NSAS protest.
Yeah, okay.
But but we'd like you to wrap up so we can give the opportunity to others to also share, perspectives before we wrap up. Yeah, thank you.
So we saw the effect of social media during that time, and it was all over the place. Even the international community were able to know what is happening in our country because our people use social media to amplify those things. The Igbo community, therefore, needs to harness this power of social media in creative ways to ensure that human capital development of its people are captured. There is no doubt that the social media has its negative parts, just like Prof said. However, it is our duty to harness the positive aspects of social media and utilize it to engineer positive change in our living. The question, therefore, is, what are these areas that we can harness using social media? I'm going to begin from commerce. Commerce is a very important area in our Igbo. The Igbo economy is one of the most vibrant economies in Nigeria, built firmly on the pillars of trade and commerce. We are known for our skills in trading and building sustainable markets. We have numerous successful businessmen and women all over the world engaging in import and export, as well as a thriving Emuahia and Igbo Dibo system, which builds successive generation of business savvy men. As a people, we can utilize social media to expand our markets far beyond its traditional vicinity while getting access to the markets all around the world. In today's world, the Igbo man selling electronics at Nkwonewi can market his products and get immediate buyers through social media platform. He can as well stay at a place using social media platform, order and receive goods worth billions of naira without having to move an inch. Social media has become an avenue to promote and market goods and services. As indeed also, one of our greatest brands is Aba that we have in Abia State. Aba has over the years turned to an industrial hub where almost everything can be fixed. I make bold to say that made in Aba products today have gained more prominence through the advent of social media. It is glad to note that Aba at this moment is currently having a fashion show where all their products are displayed. And this is amplified to the world through the use of social media. Why this is commendable, it is not yet uhuru for us. The government must do more to fortify our industry to be a stronger exporter of commodities. It is a fact to note that the footwears, clothes, most of which are used outside the region, are all products of Aba in Abia State. Social media, if properly harnessed, can be used to attract foreign investment to Igbo land. This brings us to the need to strongly invest more in training our young people in courses like digital marketing, social media marketing, coding, search engine optimization, photography, cinematography, etc. Some of these very neglected areas have turned to the new oil blocks in our climate today. Another area where we can harness social media is education and culture. Prof talked about education. Ndi Igbo are known for producing intellectuals who go on to impact greatly on our society. Taking, for instance, our Professor Onwuliri was a renowned university professor who made landmark contributions to science. Prof did not only impact academically, he became a positive role model to many young people. For the Igbo intellectuals, social media can be used as a tool to educate our people, most especially our youths. Also understanding the fact that we have many of Igbo communities who do not reside in Igbo land. Our culture seems to have been watered down. Today, young people of Igbo origin do not hear or speak Igbo language. Sadly, most of them don't have Igbo names. In some cases, it becomes difficult to trace the person's origin in the case of any eventuality. While the Yorubas take pride in answering their names, and the Hausas too, the Igbos are found wanting in name recognition. I remember those days why, as a new intake in the university, I was going through the list of people that I gained admission with. I saw a name boldly written, Pascal Portia. It became difficult for me to trace the origin of the individual who I had admission at the same place with. What this means is that if we continue to live in denial of our roots, in no distant time, we might find out that we have no culture to call our own. Our culture seems to be getting lost as the time progresses. Social media can be used to educate our people and enrich our cultural heritage. In fact, I believe it's high time we engaged our young people, many of whom are tech savvy, to build social media platforms like Facebook for Igbo community. We can have websites, podcast groups, where we can train young people on how to speak Igbo language and as well to educate them about our Igbo culture and history as a people. Indigenous knowledge is very important to social, economic, and human capital development of the Igbo people. We must know that the knowledge is in danger of disappearing if steps are not taken to document, preserve, and make it accessible to the current and future generation. Social media has provided us an opportunity to achieve this. And on this note, I want to commend some of our great leaders, notable among them, the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo, Chief John Onyanwodo, the likes of Osita Chidoka, and other Igbo intellectuals who over time have used social media to educate the people and to inform the people about our cultural heritage. As the great literary icon Chinua Achebe posited, literature is the mirror of society. However, social media has become the mirror upon which literature breathes. I say this because all the contents produced on social media are all elements of literature, ranging from visuals to audio to written literature, animations, etc. Literature has found life through social media. Therefore, the Igbo intellectuals must use social media to drive a cultural reorientation campaign. Our culture must not lose its sacredness because of the advent of social media. All hands must be on deck to ensure that the positive sides of social media are adequately utilized. Let me say briefly on politics. For now, the Igbo community is not alone. We are in a country surrounded by other tribes with their own unique agendas. We as a people have our unique attributes and we must benefit from them at this time. There is no doubt that social media is playing a very critical role in politics. Prof also noted this. Leaders all over the world have social media handles across all platforms to engage the people. Here in Nigeria, we have a situation where most of our leaders still don't consider social media as a very efficient platform to reach out to the people. It may be surprising to note that a good number of House of Assembly members from the Southwestern region are all active on social media with their handles verified. Coming down to Alibu, it is quite important to realize that in the entire Southeast, I stand to be corrected, 98% of Southeast members in the House of Representatives do not have verified social media accounts. As we speak today, no Igbo governor has a verified Twitter account, and this is not progressive for us as a people. In the Senate, aside the likes of Senator Jekano, Okorocha, and the Senator Uchekwenife, and very little percentage, that is less than 5%, most Southeast members of the National Assembly do not have efficient social media pages. This ugly situation has not helped the region in human capacity building and has not helped in facilitating development to Alibu. One, they have deprived the people of quality engagement and feedback. They have also deprived the young people, a good number of media-savvy young people, employment. For me, this is a disservice to the Igbo land. Social media has presented itself as a tool to drive political participation, engagement, feedback, and also to provide gainful employment to the young people. The failure to run effective social media platforms by our people can be likened to the reason why most of them, just barely 6 months after leaving office as governors, House of Reps, senators, most of them fell into oblivion. They fell into oblivion not because they are not talking, but they are not talking through the right platforms and no one is hearing them. We must encourage our leaders to take active participation in social media, not just for their political gain, but in order to drive a brand and voice which can be helpful to the development of the Igbo community. There are very few ugly sides of social media. It is instructive to note that the negative aspects of social media are there, and we cannot neglect them. During the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of our people were sending out fake information to the public. Some will tell you, give you drugs to take that are not prescribed by NCDC. We also saw the effect of social media during the EndSARS campaign, where people misinformed the public using social media. But in all this, we cannot throw away the baby and the bathroom. We must find a way to utilize the social media for the positive development of our region. Remember, our people said that it means that in that same fish that has bone, that is also where you find flesh. So it is our duty as a people to pick out the flesh and throw away the bone. In conclusion, we must encourage our people to not only build capacity, but to not only show capacity, but also build capacity. There is a saying attributed to John Sack that good parents give their children both roots and wings to fly. Social media, when properly channeled in the right places, in the right senses, has given our people the wings to fly, and our people must utilize this adequately. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Akwarandu, Ike Akwarandu. We really appreciate your perspective. You have touched on a number of areas by bringing a personal, young, and dynamic angle to the conversations this evening. You using your practical experiences from various responsibilities that you've heard. You talked about expanding markets using social media and encouraging the enterprise to actually explore social media as a means of deepening entrepreneurship and expanding networks for commerce and trade. We talked about some of the interesting new things that are happening with Aba, which is one of the commercial capitals in the Southeast, and the Aba Fashion Week that is ongoing, and the sort of wonderful remodeling of the image of Aba just this last week because of the post that they made on Facebook about the Aba Fashion Week that has been a huge success. So that's an example of the power of social media, and where there is a product to sell, and we're seeing that we have a lot of products, be it in the markets or in commerce, be it in innovation or production, be it in literature, or be it in education, our scholars, our politicians. There's a need for more persons to understand that there's more flesh in the fish than bones. So the impression that we should all run away from social media, that it's dangerous. And I think another important point you raised as well is it's important for persons to embrace social media when they have a voice or when they have a platform, so that even when the platform is not there, the persons who you have engaged will continue to engage with you. And that gives you, of course, the opportunity to be relevant beyond even the expiry of your platform. So I think that's very important. And some of the statistics you shared are also very important, and we need to look into them even after this lecture. The fact that most of our politicians are absent on social media, it's something interesting to think about, and whether that actually is having an impact on governance in the Southeast region. I think it's really something that I'm sure the House will be interested in exploring. You talked about, of course, key areas where we can drive capacity development. Prof had buttressed on the key aspects of capacity development and why it's important. You talked about key areas within the tech space around social media, social search engine optimization, social media marketing, digital marketing, photography, cinematography, etc. So that these are all interesting areas which you also call the gold mine. So I want to thank you very much, Mr. Ike Akwarandu, for giving us your perspective and for sharing with us this evening. We want to quickly move to invite other members of faculty here today, other members of the team today to speak. Firstly, we want to ask if His Royal Majesty is here with us. We would like to hear from His Royal Majesty.
Can you hear me?
His Royal Majesty. Yes, His Royal Majesty, we can hear you.
You should be up on the Sharia.
Oh, His Royal Majesty, you're welcome, sir. You're welcome,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Yes, sir. We're happy to have you, and this is a rare opportunity to be in your midst and for you to be in our midst, and we thank you for joining us. We know that you have a word or two for us. We know you may not speak a lot, but we know you can, even if it's your blessing that you give to us, we would totally be appreciative of such gesture. His Royal Majesty.
Yes, thank you very much. It's my duty and my pleasure to be on this platform today. I've missed previous occasions, the annual lectures, for reasons of being engaged somewhere else. I don't need to expatiate on the human quality of Professor Celestine Onwuliri, who were here to celebrate, actually, and to remember and learn from his own life's experience. I've listened to the keynote address and the subsequent speaker, and there's so much knowledge, so much insight, and so much perspective in both lectures. And I hope that somehow they could be circulated to participants and other people for our own further reading and learning. Just briefly on the two speeches. I think it was only yesterday I was reading an article on social media that basically says that Nigeria is leading the rest of Africa on the development of technology hubs, obviously IT technology hubs. Nigeria is leading Africa, but also that Lagos is the main center for IT development in Nigeria. And as we all know, for those who are very much in the IT development area, a large number of the players in that field in Lagos, Igbo, they are our sons and daughters of Igbo extraction. They're in Lagos, influencing Nigeria, influencing the whole world. Okay, which leads me to the concept of Akurona, which was mentioned by the keynote lecturer. Akurona was the theme and the subject of my lecture some 3 years ago at the 25th year anniversary of Anambra State. That was the keynote lecture for that celebration. And the lecture was basically a call to Ndi Igbo to diversify their investments homewards, that is, homewards diversification, not to abandon their investments or pull out of their base in other places, but to begin to also extend to an Igbo some of their knowledge, some of their expertise, some of their dexterity in IT development, in business development, in academics, in professions, and whatever it is. See, if you look at it today, we have more capital investment outside Igbo land than Igbo, even Igbo. Take the whole world. We have more investment abroad and out of Igbo than Igbo. We have more of our experts, whether it's professions in medicine or academics or whatever it is, lawyers and so on, outside Igbo than Igbo. So we've got to begin to look homewards because the picture that we saw 3 years ago is even worse today in Nigeria. I am by Nigeria as a country, and we have to prepare ourselves for the eventuality. And my message then was, whilst we are talking about devolution and presidential project or whatever it is, Igbo should challenge themselves and to be able to survive under any scenario in Nigeria, the worst case scenario or the best case scenario. We have the capacity, we have the durability, and we have the natural makeup. And that's what we should be driving towards. So even as Nigeria wobbles along, we should set a target that in 10 to 15 years, Igbo land should become the industrial power base of Nigeria, indisputably. It's doable and we can do it, provided we focus. And that brings me then to the Celestine Onwuliri lecture series. I believe that this is the 7th in the series. And I believe that in the previous lectures, a lot of wisdom came forth as is happening today. And my question is, what have we done with that knowledge going forward? How are we, or have we, translated talk into action? And that's my own message today. That we focus on translating, all the knowledge that you can bring forth into action. And my suggestion that today's event, following that, we should set up small group, focus groups, on various aspects of what has emerged today, and hold workshops and seminars on how we can, dissect further and then translate into action, going forward. That's the only way we can pull our Igbo forward. And my proposal is that we should set up there should be an establishment of a Celestine Onwuliri Institute for translating concept into action. Well, that's not the name, but the purpose of the institute is that concepts should be translated into action by encouraging small group discussions, seminars of experts, practitioners, and academics working together to take one issue and move it from concept to reality. That's my own suggestion. I think it would be a great honor to the great man that we're here to honor today, and we've honored consistently. And that center should ideally set up in his homeland. So let it be a place for Mecca, a place for pilgrimage for all of us. Once a year, at least for the annual lecture. And then for others, even more often a year, go there and be resident for a week and discuss ideas and translate them into action. Thank you very much for the opportunity to make this little contribution. And I hope that it helps the whole effort. Thank you. I've stopped so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Royal Majesty, the Obi of Onitsha, for your fatherly insights and scholarly insights, and also for a way forward with regards our meeting here today. I think your prescriptions for us and suggestions as well to move to establishing a Professor Onwuliri Institute that would also help drive or translate concepts to actions, as we discuss some of these ideas and concepts, is one that is very welcome, and we must thank you. That is something that we will look very strongly into as well. So thank you very much. We would like to invite our mother of the day, Yom Josephine Aneni, if she's on the call. We know that there's a perspective, an emerging, of course, perspective that affects our women folk and especially our young girls. It would be nice to hear from nice if she's on the call. It would be nice to hear from her. Okay, so while we're waiting for her to share some of her own insights, we want to find out if the most distinguished Senator Enya Abaribe is with us. A lot of ideas have been raised around the participation of politicians and leaders on social media, using the tool for engagement and also to properly guide the younger generations. And one or two examples of persons who are doing that were mentioned. So it'd be nice to hear from the most distinguished senator, if he's also on the call, his thoughts on these issues that have been raised. Most distinguished, are you on the call? You can unmute yourself. Okay, I think it's having some challenges. So, so let's get the insight from a team of Elomba Media. Elomba Media has emerged as a very formidable online media platform, and it would be interesting to know what is his perspective with regards to what has been raised today, what has been discussed today. So if I can hear him for a few minutes. Of course, we all know elomba.com is a very popular media, of course, and investigative journalism platform as well. Tim, you're welcome. Unmute yourself so we can hear from you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chinemerem. I feel actually delighted to be here. In fact, when when you were reading out the profile of the distinguished guests who are here this evening, I was a kind of, I felt like an antelope in the midst of elephants. I got afraid, hoping that I won't be trampled along the line. But having said that, I am very delighted to be here, and thanks to everyone too who have made out time to join in this occasion. As we can see from the topic of the day, the role of the social media in the development of the Southeast, it goes to show that social media has and remains a formidable topic in our everyday life. Let me start by saying that if you have not been harassed on social media, then check your social media handle again. It's either you are not an active user or participant, or you have your own antidote to the fire coming out from the kitchen of social media. In fact, let me quickly say that in 2016, I remember writing an article addressed to IPOB members, advising them on how to go about the agitations and activities to reduce loss of human lives. Well, needless to say that more than half of the commenters on that post misunderstood me and ended up bringing abuses on me, calling me Sabo or whatever. I'm sure all of us know the meaning of that, of Sabo, so to say. But those are one of the negativities of social media. Having said that, that does not mean that there are no good sides or no positive sides of social media which could be readily harnessed and put into practical and proficient use. For example, let me quickly say that as at November 24, 2020, there are over 2.7 billion active monthly users of Facebook, which is acclaimed the biggest social media network in the world, followed by Twitter. Twitter has about 330 million monthly active users and 145 million daily active users. And then statistics also shows that 63% of all Twitter users worldwide are between the ages of 35 and 36. The ratio of female to male Twitter users is roughly 1 to 2, which means our female counterparts are beating us. I wonder what we are doing with the male users. They are beating us almost 2 to 1. That is a good 3 points if it were football. Having said that, again, in Nigeria, there are about 27.5 million users of Facebook. Twitter has about 2 million users in Nigeria. If we combine this output or these statistics we have just reeled out, it is taken for granted that Facebook is #1 most popular media platform, followed by Twitter. Now, if we combine all the users of these social media platforms, we can see that social media is no longer a pushover in any sphere of human development. Let us quickly mention WhatsApp. WhatsApp has about 1.6 billion users globally. About 96 million WhatsApp applications were downloaded in February 2020 alone. WhatsApp is available in more than 180 countries and in more than 60 different languages. Facebook is leading the pack with 42.89%, Twitter 39.8%, then YouTube 3.67%, Instagram 3.18%, LinkedIn 0.33%. If we combine all these users, we'll see that about half of the population of humankind are on social media actively. In fact, in 2016, it was widely acclaimed that Donald Trump won his election as US president riding on the back of the Twitter horse. It is also no secret that social media was instrumental to the organization and coordination of the recent EndSARS protests, which raged across the country, Nigeria. Also, we should not neglect the impact of social media-oriented economic growth. Every day, new social media-induced millionaires are produced. One such popular social media achiever is our own young Emanuela. I'm sure that is a household name. In fact, recently she completed a mouth-watering house for her parents with promises of a mansion in view, which shows that social media is not just for the elderly or for the youths, but even children are keying in to the facilities and the possibilities provided or enhanced by social media. Another area of interest is education. In fact, as we speak, some schools are holding their class sessions via social media. That is interesting, especially during the lockdown when schools were under lock and key. Many schools continue to offer education to our children using social media platforms. Let it also be known to us that it is credit to social media that we are gathered today via Zoom, which is one of the arms of social media. To cap it up all, the young man who made it possible, my presence here possible today, I met him on social media too. So who can then now question the power of social media in human capital development? If we talk of business, many of our businessmen are buying their goods from far away China using social media platforms. And many more are selling their products using same. We from online journalism sector see social media as both a sister and a partner, as it helps propagate our news faster than would ordinarily be imagined. If I publish an article on my platform, Elomba News, or elomba.com as alternatively known, immediately I paste the link on social media. It spreads like wildfire to all nooks and crannies of the world. One can then confidently say that social media has shrunk the world and reduced it to a spiraling global village. You can imagine my pain, how it hurts me and my colleagues when we hear that our government at some levels are sponsoring a bill to gag social or new media. I mean, what is not understood about the impact and the positivities of social media? I will therefore emphasize that instead of any reasonable government to harass or attempt to gag social media, they should rather seek means to harness the positivities, the positive potentials of social media for human development. They should ask themselves, what are these billions of social media subscribers seeing that we are not seeing? And find ways to key in to this moving human train. Before I go, I will want to join all participants here to pay tribute to Professor C.O.E. Onwuliri, KSJI-FAS, whose legacy has lived on and continues to speak for him. My profound respect also goes to Professor Viola Onwuliri, who has ensured that the embers of the legacies of Professor C.O.E. Onwuliri are constantly fanned. We of Elomba.com say thank you and have a happy deliberation.
Thank you very much, Tim, for your Thank you very much for sharing with us. And indeed, I think the message is clear that we need to explore the positives and enhance these positives instead of focusing on the negatives and trying to use them as excuses to gag some of the developments in social media. I'm not alone on this. The able chairman, Professor Azinge, is still here with us, and we would like our chairman to, if he's around to unmute himself, to join in on the conversations. I'm sure some of the comments made so far, he would have some insight to share as well. Prof, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I've been following and listening attentively. Firstly, I must commend and congratulate the guest speaker for a very lucid and well-articulated presentation, and also all the people that have intervened one way or the other. I must say that we have benefited immeasurably from all of them, one way or the other, their insights and the perspective that they shared. I believe that the last speaker just touched on something that I consider very germane and very, very fundamental, and that is the issue of the social media bill. And the guest speaker alluded to that one way or the other when he talked about maybe some people that believe that there might be argument in favor of regulation of social media. But there are also other contrary arguments, and I think that from all the positives that have been enumerated in the course of our conversation, there seems to be no clear-cut justification for the social media bill in the way and manner in the light that government seems to be thinking of it. Consequently, it is for those who are concerned and the stakeholders to make sure that they bring pressure to bear on respective members of the National Assembly and also all the other stakeholders, so that at any point in time, if at all the bill is subjected to any scrutiny in terms of public hearing, that we have more than enough people there to shoot down that bill. Because I believe that it may not be and should not be in the ultimate interest of our people and of our country. And also to say that the perspective that was dwelled on, especially the colonial aspect of it, which is Royal Majesty, also dilated upon, that it is something that we should also be thinking seriously of in terms of economic renaissance of our people in Igbo land. That is very, very fundamental as well. How do we usher that in? I remember that about 4 or 5 years ago, at Uturu at the World Igbo Summit, I delivered a keynote address along that line. And since then, the matter has been on the front burner of national discourse, especially as it relates to the Igbos. That we should also be thinking of seriously. But I've always wondered, anytime I leave Abuja and go to Lagos, I find myself around Lekki, and I can say without contradiction that the whole of Lekki is dominated and peopled by the Igbos. Should everybody you see there, good majority, 99.9% of the people there owning houses, doing business are Igbos. Not to talk about the other parts. And occasionally I wonder how realistic it might be for such people to be asked to bring their resources or more or less their skills and what have you back home. How will that obviously resonate and how will they cope. But I know that it is not a matter of return home. It's a matter of trying to make sure that given percentages of whatever you have should also be invested in your own homeland. Whatever it is, whether it is in real estate, whether it is in any other sphere of human endeavor, make sure that you don't forget your home, so that you will ultimately ensure that no matter what, you have a pride of place and you have been able to help to develop Igbo land. I am also particularly pleased with the announcement made by the Director General of the National Inland Waterways recently, that they are trying to revive and resuscitate the Onitsha port. For us, that is a very welcome development, if at all, whether it's going to be through Port Harcourt or whether it's going to be through Cocoa or any other part of south or thereabout, that ultimately ships can now bet along that line, or if they bet in Port Harcourt or anywhere in Calabar, they can still navigate and come to Onitsha port. If that is done, it means that in terms of importations and what have you, or even exportation, our people may not need necessarily to now travel all the way to Lagos or to carry luggages to Lagos. We can do so many things using the Onitsha port, if obviously in play. So to that extent, we keep pushing. It is for us to keep pushing, putting pressure on the government of the day to also ensure that we get the best we can get from government. Whilst we are still advocating for Igbo presidency, let us ensure that we get the best we can get. What of rail line transportation? Are we obviously on cue one way or the other, amongst other things? I believe that these are conversations that our political leaders should champion and lead advocacy one way or the other. And all this can well be through the instrumentality of social media, so that we can harness our thoughts in that regard and see how we can push. Because if we're able to achieve that, we will be able to ensure that there is a lot of economic resources coming to Igbo land, and that will help us to revitalize whatever that is ailing or whatever that is not in play. So I want to yield so that other people will also intervene, but I must say without fear of contradiction, it has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation, and I personally have benefited immeasurably from it. So I want to thank all those that spoke before me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. We really appreciate you for the very incisive take on the issues and bringing in additional aspects and key questions on how exactly can we help or can we drive conversation to help persons bring back their skills and the resources back home to Igbo land to help generate economic activity and develop our land beyond what we have or what is ongoing at the moment. You talked about the situation whereby people should look at percentages. So a simple question about this is what I have or this is what I am worth. What percentage of what I have or what I am worth in Igbo land? So a simple question like that can actually be powerful driving force. Get to start thinking about how exactly they are contributing to the development of our homeland. So thank you very much, Prof. Your comments were very insightful. We still have Professor Ginika